After Jinwoo defeats Demon King Baran, his shadows begin collecting essence stones, and Jinwoo receives his rewards. Among the rewards he obtains the Demon Monarch's ring, the Demon King's longsword, S-rank daggers, Baran's horns, and an important item, the purified blood of the Demon King. As Jinwoo puts on the Demon Monarch's ring, the system notifies him that the set effects are now activated. The system explains that the purified blood of the Demon King is a powerful magical liquid, but it still contains poisonous substances. To use it as a potion, Jinwoo must neutralize the poison using the fragment of the World Tree and the spring water from the Forest of Echoes. Jinwoo begins crafting the Elixir of Life using the purified blood of the Demon King. The system informs him that the probability of success and the number of items crafted depend on his intelligence stat points. Jinwoo, realizing this, regrets not focusing more on increasing his intelligence stat. S-Seal tries to comfort him, saying he should not worry about his stats. As the system starts crafting the item, Jinwoo feels nervous. Finally, the system successfully crafts the Elixir of Life, and both Jinwoo and S-Seal are overjoyed. The system uses the entire spring water part of the fragment of the World Tree and part of the demon's blood, leaving some materials unused. Jinwoo realizes that not all materials are consumed when crafting an item. He then wonders if the Elixir of Life will be able to cure his mother's illness. Suddenly, Iron drags the body of Kaisel toward Jinwoo. Surprised, Jinwoo watches as the other shadows give Iron a thumbs up. Jinwoo begins the shadow extraction process and successfully extracts the shadow of the wyvern. The system asks Jinwoo to name the new shadow. As usual, Jinwoo struggles to come up with a name, saying several wrong ones, which makes Essel comment that he is bad at naming. The wyvern's expression is priceless, and Jinwoo finally names it Kaisel. Kaisel lets out a huge roar, and Essel remarks that they can now reach her clan in no time using Kaisel. However, Jinwoo wants to leave the place as soon as possible. Essel invites him to a banquet, but Jinwoo starts checking his rewards instead. Among his rewards, Jinwoo finds a runestone containing the Shadow Exchange skill, and learns that the skill allows him to switch places with his shadows with a 3-hour cooldown period. Jinwoo is thrilled with this reward, as it means he can teleport anywhere using his shadows. He praises his shadows for their good work and uses the Shadow Exchange skill to return to his neighborhood. Kaisel appears at Jinwoo's place, and together they head to the hospital. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the Hunters Association, where Manager Woo shows Chairmon Go a video of the ants and documents from the 3 previous raids on Jeju Island. They confirm that the ants leave their tunnels whenever they detect enemies nearby. Chairmon Go mentions that the ants' changing appearance with each generation is proof that they are evolving. He expresses concern about the guards protecting the queen and wonders what will happen if the ants return to the tunnels upon sensing that the queen is in danger. Manager Woo responds that they will use jamming signals to disrupt the ants' communication, which will confuse them. Chairman Go states that their main focus should be on the queen and her royal guards. Suddenly, Chairman Go senses massive mana waves coming from a great distance. He asks Manager Woo if he can contact Jinwoo, but Manager Woo says he cannot. At the same time, Baek Yoonho and Byung-Gu also sense the mana waves. They realize that Choi Jong-in and Hae-In are likely fighting. Byung-Gu starts laughing, and Baek Yoonho tells him to stop, warning that he might get wrinkles from laughing so much. Min wonders if Baek Yoonho wants to hear something funny, but Baek Yoonho dismisses the idea, stating he is not interested. Baek Yoonho reflects on Byung-Gu, finding him a little odd. He recalls how Byung-Gu is the only S-rank hunter to retire despite being in perfect shape, and questions why he would leave the profession, especially since he is not wealthy. Byung-Gu inquires if Baek Yoonho is truly serious about going to Jeju Island, and Baek Yoonho firmly confirms his decision. Byung-Gu then brings up Yoon-suk's death, asking if Baek Yoonho remembers how he died. Baek Yoonho responds that it is precisely why he must go, explaining if they do not deal with the ants now, everyone in the country will face the same fate. Byung-Gu teases him, asking when he became so patriotic, but Baek Yoonho insists that he has no choice and must go regardless. Byung-Gu declares that he will not be joining him. Baek Yoonho explains that he is not here to recruit him, but to say goodbye, as he may not get another chance to see him. Byung-Gu reveals that he is preparing for the teacher certification exam and plans to become a history teacher to live a normal life. He mentions that Yujin Construction approached him to lead their guild as a guild master, but he turned down the offer. His hands tremble as he admits that he is not suited for a job where he has to kill or be killed. Instead, he focuses on his dream of teaching and expresses his desire to teach Korean history. Baek Yoonho calls him a nutcase, but Byung-Gu calmly explains that this is what a normal life looks like. Baek Yoonho finally understands that this is what normal life is, and realizes that hunters are the abnormal ones. He also reflects on how most hunters do not dislike fighting, but healers might, as their role is only to heal others. The scene shifts to the hospital, where Jinwoo enters his mother's room, knowing that if something goes wrong, there is no turning back. He worries that his mother might not be able to swallow the holy water, and that there is no guarantee it will cure her. However, he places his trust in the system, which has performed miracles before, and silently thanks it for helping him rise from an E-rank hunter to where he is now. He opens the bottle, his hands trembling, but takes a moment to steady himself before pouring the drink. As he does, he notices the scar on his mother's neck and is flooded with memories of his childhood. He recalls how he once tried to wash his mother's hair but accidentally burned her skin. Despite the pain he caused his mother, was more concerned about him than herself. As he watches her, her face begins to regain its color, but she does not wake up. Jinwoo wonders why she is still unconscious and reflects on how the only reason he wanted to become strong was to wake his mother from her eternal sleep. After what feels like an eternity, his mother finally opens her eyes and calls out to him. She asks how long she has been asleep, and Jinwoo gently tells her it has been 4 years. She immediately asks about Jinah, and Jinwoo reassures her that Jinah is doing well. Overwhelmed with emotion, Jinwoo begins to shake as his mother thanks him for keeping his promise. She notices his injuries and remarks that he has been through so much. Unable to hold back his tears, Jinwoo nods and quietly responds, "Yes." The scene shifts to the chief doctor, who is informed that Jinwoo's mother has awakened from her eternal slumber. He is in disbelief, calling it an unprecedented event. One of the doctors mentions that the guardian of the patient is demanding her immediate discharge from the hospital. The chief doctor objects, arguing that she has just woken up after 4 years and is not yet stable. He assumes she cannot even walk. However, the other doctor explains that all her test results are completely normal and that she can even walk on her own. The chief doctor is shocked to hear that she is perfectly healthy after being bedridden for 4 years. He insists that despite her condition, they cannot simply discharge her and that they should notify the medical community about this miraculous recovery. The other doctor then reveals that the patient's guardian is none other than Sung Jinwoo, an S-rank hunter. Upon hearing this, the chief doctor changes his stance, humorously stating that they cannot keep a perfectly healthy patient from going home, especially when her guardian is an S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to Jinwoo and his mother. Jinah arrives to visit her mother and bursts into tears upon seeing her awake. Jinwoo watches the emotional reunion and feels that all his hard work has finally paid off. However, he begins to feel uneasy. As a hunter, he knows he has crossed a bridge of no return. He steps outside to clear his mind and checks his phone, realizing he has a ton of missed calls. While scrolling, he notices news about Kaizul and wonders why reporters are writing about it. Suddenly, he receives a call from Chairman Go. The chairman asks if Jinwoo has been watching the news. Assuming the chairman is referring to Kaizul, Jinwoo apologizes and promises to be more careful next time. However, Chairman Go clarifies that he is talking about something else and requests to meet Jinwoo in person. Jinwoo agrees and decides to visit the chairman. The scene shifts to the Hunters Association, where Jinwoo meets Chairman Go. The chairman informs him that the Jeju Island raid will begin in 4 days and that they need his help. He explains that all the hunters in South Korea will be participating in the operation to exterminate the ants. Jinwoo reflects that under normal circumstances, he would jump at the opportunity to join a raid where he could level up. However, the situation feels different this time. Suddenly, he senses mana waves and, intrigued, asks Chairman Go about it. The chairman, impressed by Jinwoo's sharp senses, laughs and explains that the S-rank hunters are sparring in the gym. He also mentions that the Japanese S-rank hunters, including Goto Ryuji, are present. Jinwoo is surprised to hear about Goto Ryuji and reflects on how he is the greatest hunter in Japan, a name so famous that even non-hunters would recognize it. Chairman Go invites Jinwoo to join him in the gym. At the gym, Jinwoo sees a large gathering of S-rank hunters. Baek Yoonho and Dongwook are sparring with each other. Dongwook lands a heavy blow on Baek Yoonho, knocking him down, and comments that a young man like him should be stronger. Baek Yoonho gets back up, and they resume their sparring, sending shockwaves throughout the gym. Jinwoo observes the fight and remarks that Baek Yoonho seems to be struggling. Choi Jong-in, who has just arrived, responds that Baek Yoonho is holding back. He explains that if Baek Yoonho were to use his full power, Dongwook would not be able to keep up. Jinwoo asks why Baek Yoonho is holding back, and Choi Jong-in explains that Baek Yoonho prefers not to fight at full strength in front of an audience because it puts him in an awkward position. He adds that Baek Yoonho transforms into a beast form when he fights seriously, which could make others uncomfortable. Jinwoo reflects that it is true Baek Yoonho can transform into a beast. Choi Jong-in then points out the Japanese S-rank hunters gathered in the gym, including Goto Ryuji. Jinwoo notices the impressive lineup of Japanese hunters and reflects on their reputation. One of the Japanese hunters asks about Jinwoo, and Hanakawa explains that he has sung Jinwoo, a hunter who recently became an S rank. Goto Ryuji wonders if Jinwoo is an assassin-type hunter and questions how he can hide his powers so well. However, Hanakawa clarifies that Jinwoo is a mage-type hunter. Goto Ryuji finds this hard to believe, but Hanakawa insists it is officially confirmed. Lim Taegyu, seeing Jinwoo, comments that he is the guy who ruined Minsung's debut. Meanwhile, Hae-In notices Jinwoo and remarks that he is the reason the air feels different. Another Japanese hunter, Ishida, points out that Jinwoo is the 10th S-rank hunter from Korea. Kei, however, is uninterested in Jinwoo and feels nauseous from being surrounded by so many S-rank hunters. Kei then notices Hae-In and realizes she also has a sensitive nose like him. He considers starting a conversation with her, but decides against it, thinking she might misunderstand his intentions. As Baek, Yoonho, and Dongwook spar, Hanakawa comments that the South Korean hunters are mediocre. Goto Ryuji disagrees, pointing out that Hae-In and Go Gun-hee are exceptional hunters. Park Jong-soo overhears this and asks if Hanakawa thinks all South Korean hunters are mediocre. Hanakawa asks who he is, and Jong-soo introduces himself as the guild master of the Knights Guild. Hanakawa admits she has never heard of him, and Yoontae explains that while Jong-soo is an A-rank hunter, his guild is one of the major guilds in South Korea and has recruited a large number of A-rank hunters. Hanakawa then asks if Jong-soo is joining the Jeju Island raid. Yoontae responds that they are part of the defense team. Hanakawa boldly states that an important raid cannot be entrusted to an A-rank hunter. This angers Jong-soo, who retorts that a mere interpreter would not understand the complexities of such matters. Frustrated, Hanakawa reveals that she is an A-rank hunter and challenges Jong-soo to a fight. Jinwoo and Choi Jong-in, observing from above, become interested in the match between the two A-rank hunters. Jong-soo agrees to fight, but proposes a rule: the first person to grab the opponent's wrist wins. Hanakawa realizes this is more of a mind game. Jong-soo takes an odd stance which frustrates Hanakawa. She rushes to grab his hand, but Jong-soo dodges and lightly hits her hand away. Shocked, Hanakawa tries to regain her composure and points out that Jong-soo's pants are ripped. As Jong-soo becomes distracted, Hanakawa seizes the opportunity to grab his wrist. However, Jong-soo surprises her by grabbing her hand instead. Hanakawa trembles in disbelief as Jong-soo explains that she is the type of hunter who always hides behind tanks and lacks one-on-one combat experience. He further explains that in South Korea, hunters sometimes have to fight and even kill their own kind, which requires a different level of skill and awareness. Goto Ryuji praises Jong-soo for the exciting match and thanks him. Goto Ryuji then proposes a sparring match between the Japanese S-rank hunters and the South Korean S-rank hunters to build trust between the two countries. Chairman Go Gun-hee realizes that Goto Ryuji wants to test the hunter's strength, but agrees to the proposal, requesting that mage-type and non-combatant hunters be excluded. Baek Yoonho suggests adding more rules, such as winning by touching the opponent's wrist or back, or by knocking them down. Ryuji notes that these rules give assassin-type hunters an advantage. 4 hunters are selected from each country, and both teams prepare for the fight. Jinwoo